writing. Welcome back to Nick Lenz, comic corner, classic, non-classic. This episode number 2510 and Doubleshot number 2404. We have a Moon Knight trade, and we also have a Pyramid Iron Fist Epic Collection. Yep. For Mr. Moon Knight, we actually have Moon Knight Epic Collection, Volume 3, Final Rest, which collects issues 24 to 38 of Moon Knight Volume 1. Which, the reason why that is like that, because, like, 38, does next volume contain the next set of issues of Moon Knight? It does, but 38 was actually the final issue of the original volume. I'm not really sure exactly why it was. My guess is low sales, presumably. And here's the strange thing, though. The original writer of the book, Doug Moak, he leaves with issue 33. He only misses one. He only misses, like he skips 27, and he also skips 34, 38. He does not finish the volume. He writes a majority of this volume. I'll discuss basically the rest of this in a minute, but mostly put, here's what happens over the course of these issues. Now, Moon Knight, of course, basically, now, the book itself, you have Doug basically on issues 24, 25, 26, and 28 to 34. That's it. The other writers you have for these issues are Stephen Grant, Alan Zink, who actually is the final writer of this book, by the way. Tony Isabella does one issue in here, with the late Danny Neal and Steve Rosenberg. Bill Sienkiewicz, who does the writing, who does artwork and cover artwork, too. He does all the covers in here. With Joe Borowski, Kevin Nolan, Bob Hopton, Keith Pallard, Michael Barr, Mark Silvestri, one of the future founders of Image, Richard Howell, and Bob McLean. The cover of this book is by Bill Sienkiewicz and Veronica Nisia. It's actually the cover art for issue 26. Back cover is by Frank Miller and Terry Austin. The book itself covers time period of October 1982, and we conclude with, July of 1984. In the first issue in this book, 24, we have Turn of the Stained Glass Scarlet. In her last appearance in this volume before she returns in the more expected book. Yeah, she's appeared for several years. Where she's more vengeful now, and she basically is more willing to kill. That's most of what she's doing now. And she's appeared sporadically over the years. And then 25 happens, the double-sized 25th issue. What happens in issue 25, might I ask? In issue 25, we have the first appearance of a character known as the Black Spectre. A character who, after this one issue, does not return again into the late 1990s, appeared throughout one of the Moon Knight miniseries, and they got killed off in Volume 3 of the book. Well, what I consider to be Volume 3. The wiki page considers that Volume 4 or 5. Yes. But yeah, this was his first appearance of that character. If you're familiar with me talking about basically the third volume, which was ongoing, and there was 30 issues. Yeah, Black returns to that book, and Moon Knight killed him by shoving him off a building. He is by far the only character confirmed to be dead in that book. Yep. Throughout that 30-issue run. Yeah, and my only guess made double sides because it's 25 of the book. Yeah, the opening stories are by Doug, while the backup stories are by Denny O'Neil. It's mostly put basically Moon Knight versus someone named Commodore Donny Planet. It's just this guy who's just here for one issue, just here. He actually is a character who appeared in Power by Iron Fist originally. And he appears, this is actually his first appearance since then. He makes one appearance since then in an issue of the current volume for the series. Yes, Donald Planet returns. Yeah, it's like he's just a very minor character. By the way, the opening story of the book, it's mostly put Moon Knight basically battling himself. Yep. Issue 27, basically he meets the Kingpin for the first time. He thinks Kingpin is responsible for some stuff that happened in the book, but he isn't. And fun fact, this is the only time Wilson Fisk ever appears in Moon Knight. You're thinking, really? Yeah, he does not appear in Mark's Back to Moon Knight. Not that I remember anyways. He does not appear in Volume 3. And he's not appeared in any volume since. You might be thinking, does he appear in Devil's Reign? I think he does, but this is an appearance in the first volume he makes. I thought this was quite interesting. Basically, at this point, the biggest villain is appeared in this book. And he does briefly fight him. Yeah, so at least he's kind of a lot more superheroes. Got praise King for that. 28 basically faced up against some Arab villains named Sons of the Jackal. In this one-off issue, the backup story basically is more desert stuff. Because Moon Knight. 2930 is a quick two-parter, has the return of Jack Russell, aka Wear It By Night, who actually gets mutated in these issues to look more like an actual wolf. That's what these issues are famous for. Basically, Jack Ross becoming official, like full-blown wolf form. Not the semi-wolf form he had during his original book. This basically is just... That's what this two-parter is. And, of course, taking the committee once again for the first time since, well, Moon Knight's debut. Because I think that was the last officially that they appeared in the book was actually Moon Knight's debut. Well, in a way, no, but they did appear in issue 19 of Spider-Woman. They also appeared in an issue of Marvel Team-Up and Moon Knight number 4. After these two issues, they later returned for, well, I consider it to be the third volume for the series. Actually, they say it's fifth volume, it's actually fourth volume. They returned for the Charlie Hudson, Dave Finch run for the book, and that's last to see the committee. I find this two-parter really cool, and it's a lot more bloodier. I thought it was quite cool the fact they actually mutated him. Yep. And then you have Moon Knight taking the team up with the Lander brothers for an issue. And I think was this one of their last appearances in the book? No, they appear one more time in this volume, and they appear from one-off issue in Volume 3, and they become a recurring character in Volume 3. Basically appear in one of the miniseries 90s, and they appear in Volume 3, and then the most recent appearance was in Shadowland Moon Knight. So they appeared a little bit after this, but not a lot of appearances. And then basically we have, when music stops, it's just, Moon Knight takes some thugs. 33, first appearance of Joy Marigo. Those who are not familiar with this woman is noteworthy for being It's a character who basically, after this one issue of Moon Knight, became a recurring character in Spider-Man. Because she's a reporter, it's like Doug just introduced... It's like basically the writer of this book, who is Doug, by the way, in pretty much his last issue he wrote for the book. Yeah, in his last issue, let's introduce a character who basically is who's considered to be a Spider-Man character. Yeah, it's like he just introduced him in his last issue, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, but you have Moon Knight taking the title Druid Walsh. Yeah, take out the one-shot character. Then the last few issues of the book, it's no more Doug in this book. And then we have The Raiders, a street gang, opening story done by Tony Isabella, and the backup story too. Still on the cover artwork. Also, which is off the artwork too, for this book. And then 35, he teams up with the X-Men Fantastic Four to take on the Human Fly, and they made this issue double size for issue 35. It limited 10 issues of the last one. I'm like, really? Why? Because at least it's not. At least it's got Brady's book for least. It's not as stupid as the Daredevil one. Daredevil one was awful because they used a really terrible character. Then 36 has Moon Knight team up with Doctor Strange. I think was one of his very few appearances he made in this book. 37, we have the debut of Elias Spectre, who dies in this issue. Like, who is Elias Spectre right now? He's Mark Spector's father. And also, this also was a minor thug who steals his body, named Curly. It's a very weird way they conclude this book. But that's basically how they concluded. Basically, like, Moon Knight's father dies, and, well, then apparently he fakes his death at the end of the book. Yep. Carly himself basically is just dealt with in this final issue. It's like, okay, so we introduce a minor villain. Now, there's also the debut of Elias Spector's house. It's like, okay, let's introduce a bunch of Chicago stuff. Like, you might be thinking, is this going to set the very next line Moon Knight? No, not really. By the way, the very next line comes roughly like a year later. I'm not kidding about that. Like, it's like almost 1 year later we have another Moon Knight book. Yep. This book is actually pretty good. Final thoughts on the very first volume for Moon Knight. This volume was a lot of fun. If you're a fan of Moon Knight, check it out. Basically, you could say this book has a lot of early stuff for the Moon Knight's lore that there is there for it. That's what's most there for, and do some characters who we still see kind of this very day. But yeah, check it out. Next up was a fun one. We have Power Man and Iron Fist Epic Collection Volume 2 Revenge. Come on, seriously. Come on, seriously, come on. Oh my gosh. Here it is, Power Man and Fist Epic Collection Volume 2 Revenge. This book collects issues 71 and 72, along with 74 to 89, and Daredevil 178. I'm skipping Daredevil 178 because I guess already. Okay, so 84 is the last issue done by Mary Jo Duffy. Yep, it's her final issue she does. Why? Don't know why. Yeah, this is definitely... Let me check this. Yep, 84 is her final issue. She does the book. Yeah. Now, this book covers time period of... Come on, thank you. July 1981 includes in January 1983. Now... Written by, of course, Mary Duffy, Frank Miller, Daniel Neal, Mike W. Berg, Chris Clem, art by Kerry Gremmel, Frank Miller, Dennis Cohen, Keith Pollack, Greg LaRouque, Rudy Namuris, and Mark Bright. The cover is by Dennis Coey, Jeff Perosi, and Ron Caddy. The back cover is done by Frank Miller. The first story basically takes on a character named Montagro. Yeah, it's this bearded guy who appears for this issue here, and then he returns to issue 80, and then that's sending into to like the third to last issue of Pirate Fist Volume 3. Yeah, he just like a minor character. Moving on. 72. Last appearance, the Golden Tigers. A group of characters from the pages of Iron Fist. It's like Joe Duffy, Mary Duffy decided to wrap a loose end from Iron Fist. But 73... But wait a minute, you said this... Okay. There is a bit of an explanation with 73. 73 is not collected in the trade for... There's actually a reason why. Though the actual reason why is now it's invalid due to the fact there was some changes recently. You see, for the longest time, Marvel could not legally print anything that featured Rom the Space Knight. Those who are familiar with the character, he was originally a toy created in the late 1970s. And Bill Mantlo wrote his book. A book that lasted for 75 issues and had 4 annuals published. And this is one of those issues he just happened to guest star in. This will be the second time we covered a book of his that he guest starred that Marvel can't legally collect because they can't collect them at that point, but now they can. Yeah, this also is across with his book too, which leads into Rom 23, which the whole thing with Rom on Earth, it's him versus the Dire Wraiths. Yep. This issue is actually good, but that's the reason why legally Marvel for the longest time could not collect this issue trade. Despite I think it's actually really good. Yeah. Yep, it's basically Power Man and Fist meeting up with Rom, who deals with Dire Wraiths, eventually breaks up events in 4 billion in Rom 23. And basically, well, Power Man quotes something to Reed Richards that only Reed Richards would know. Like, yep, he's Reed Richards. And, well, Rom goes off, leaves Earth for a bit, and that's it for that one. But it's an excellent two-parter. Yeah, it's interesting we have an alien like raw media Power Man Fist. In 74, we have... Oh, by the way, Bob Diamond. He has this thing where he's in love with Colleen Wing. Yeah, and there's a recurring joke in the book that Colleen was tossing around this fact that the guy's got a thing for her. And he's pretty much a recurring character in the book. He's been a recurring character since issue 59. My only guess is the reason why Sun Tiger included in here because martial arts and they're friends of Iron Fist. Yep, and Master Khan himself is a character who debuted in Strange Tales 77. Yeah, he's no Stan Lee character. Yeah, who was previously an old Iron Fist villain. It's like, oh, let's bring an Iron Fist villain and a ninja. And it's like basically, yeah, we're just dealing with some old Iron Fist villains. Even Dragon Lord himself basically is an Iron Fist villain. Yeah, that's 74 is. 75, double-sized issue. Love looking at Bob Larkin. It's basically about the Kun Lun for one issue. Yep. It's an absolute really action-packed issue. Meredith does a great job with this issue. It's by far the one with the best cover. And then 76, deal with a character named Warhawk, who last appeared back in X-Men number 10. 110, excuse me. Yeah, Warhawk himself is, well, not that big of a character. He is, in fact, an Iron Fist villain. You're thinking, wait, it's like they're taking old Iron Fist villains. Because they gotta get something to do, so bring in the Iron Fist villains. Now we have two original characters. The Chia and Boris. Who, basically, in the Chia, she will appear for issue 77, 81, 82, pop up for issue Black Widow, and that's it for her. As for Boris, who I think is supposed to be her husband, he, of course, does the same thing, too. And, of course, gets the appearance by Daredevil. Because why not? And then we have the return of El Ilagia to take on the Slasher, who turns out to be Sabretooth and a man named Frank. And the man Frank is actually the Constrictor, who sadly is no longer alive. The Constrictor last appeared in Power Man Iron Fist number 66. And his next appearance after this issue would be in issue 84, which I'll discuss that in a minute. Then 79, oh boy, this is a really fun issue here. This issue, 79, okay, so they have this character named Professor Justin Officer Gamble, who is meant to be a stand-in for the Doctor. Which one, you might ask? Based on his look, I'd say he's partially based on the Fourth Doctor. Yeah, and there's these creatures known as the Dreadnoks, which, after they appeared in this issue, they next appear in Avengers and number 22. Yeah, this issue in particular is very infamous. Why? Because it's an indirect crossover with Doctor Who. Because Marvel the Reds published it, but they couldn't exactly include him in this book per se. But yeah, it's tongue in cheek reference to Doctor Who, which I found to be so fun. Then Montego returns for issue 80. And then she had Boris returns for 82. 83. Same people. 83, which is the cover of this book also. It's basically Warhawk once again. 84, marriage of his last issue of the book. And just, well, same with the Vertical Constrictor. Like, okay, cool. In 85, versus the frickin' Mole Man. Yes, a Fantastic Four villain. And you're thinking, thank God we're not fighting more Iron Fist foes. A Fantastic Four foe, that's different. And then in 86, you take on a character named GoldenEye, who basically is not the known character outside the comics. He's just the man with the golden eye. And then we have the first appearance of Commodore Planet. I just talked about this guy already with the Moon Knight stuff. Yes, I'm kind of only discussing his first 2 appearances in comics. Indirectly, of course. It's like, oh, and by the way, it seems like this issue would continue the pages of Moon Knight. And in 88, you have the cover. It's like, oh, you have Luke Cage for a freaking power pole. Like a power, like one of the power line stuff. And he has the return of Black Maria to the book. I'm like, wow, a Luke Cage villain. That's cool. Last time she appeared in the book was back in Hero for Hire number 10. And after this issue, she was now returning into Avengers Origins Luke Cage number 1. Yeah, and we also have Skitimer, who is an Iron Fist villain. Yes. Who last appeared back in Iron Fist number 5. And after this, he would return in Iron Fist Volume 3 in the 90s. And make his last appearance issue 12 of Power Man Fist. And in 89, the last issue of the book is, simply put, Power Man Fist taking on some racist soldiers. Yeah, it's just okay. But yeah, oh, by the way, who replaced Mayor Zuffy with issue 84? It's Danny O'Neill. Do not know why he decided to do this for, but he did. Yep. Well, all in all, really good book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the last issue of the book is kind of weak, but overall, really fun book altogether. And basically, 2 more Power and Fire Fists left to go. And then we have a total number of about 4 more Luke Cage books after this one, okay? Yep, I'm going to give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 10, but the last issue was just okay. Yep. But I'd say by far the fun issue of this whole book is issue 79. Check it out, along with issue 73. Yep. But yeah, that's it for particular review. Next up, 100 Girlfriends. Okay, next video. Bye.